In this lesson, you'll learn how to reduce relative clauses, also known as adjective clauses. These are a key feature of academic English, and they will help you make your writing clearer and more concise. We'll start by reviewing what a relative clause is. Then you'll learn a simple trick to identify which ones can be reduced, because not all of them can. After that, we'll go through how to reduce each type with examples and common mistakes to avoid. There's actually a lot of incorrect information on this topic on the internet, so I'm going to show you exactly what is and is not correct. Once you've got the hang of it, there's a quick quiz to test your new skills. Let's get started. What are relative clauses? A relative clause, or adjective clause, describes the noun which it follows. It contains a relative pronoun like who, that, or which, and there are two types: defining, also known as essential, and non-defining, or non-essential. So let's just take a quick look at each type. Defining. The book which is green is mine. So you can see we've got three books here: a green, a yellow, and a blue. If I just say, the book is mine, which book? We don't know what I'm talking about. So which is green is essential or defining information that tells us which book I am talking about. Compare this with non-defining. The book, which is green, is mine. If I just say, the book is mine, it's clear which book I'm talking about, because there's only one book. Which is green is extra, non-essential, non-defining information. And you can recognise a non-defining relative clause by the commas. So there's always a comma which separates the non-defining relative clause from the noun which it describes. And a relative clause is a dependent clause. That means that it can't stand alone. So if you just say, which is green, it doesn't make sense. What are we talking about? Now, some important information for you. The relative pronoun can be the subject or the object of the relative clause. If it is the subject, the clause can be reduced. But if it's the object, the clause cannot be reduced. How can you tell? Don't panic, because I'm going to show you a quick hack so that you can identify really easily whether the relative pronoun is the subject or the object. If the relative pronoun is the subject, it is immediately followed by a verb. The man who is reading the book is my cousin. So here the relative pronoun who is followed by the verb is. He is reading, so who is the subject. It can be reduced. And how do we do that? By deleting the relative pronoun and the verb to be. So, the man reading the book is my cousin. If the relative pronoun is the object, it's immediately followed by a subject. So, I, we, you, they, he, she, or it. The man who I saw yesterday was reading a book. So who is followed by the subject I. I saw him. It cannot be reduced. What we can do is delete the relative pronoun and say, the man I saw yesterday was reading a book. But this is not the same as clause reduction. This is called ellipsis, and we're not going to deal with that in this video. Another really important point to note is that if the relative clause contains a modal verb or do or have as auxiliary verbs, it cannot usually be reduced. There are exceptions, but for the most part, it doesn't work. So that rules out perfect tenses. There's a lot of incorrect information on the internet about this, but what they're generally doing is confusing a relative clause with a participle clause, and it can't be reduced without changing the meaning. The man who will help you is over there. He will help you. We are talking about the subject, but we can't reduce it because we have the modal verb will. She's the girl who doesn't live here. So again, who is the subject? She doesn't live here. But we can't reduce it because we've got the auxiliary verb do. If you said, she's the girl not living here, I mean, it's grammatically correct, but it changes the meaning. It makes it sound like her not living here is a temporary thing. So it's best to avoid that. Let's just do a quick little quiz to see if you can identify when a clause can or cannot be reduced. Can these be reduced? And remember, is the pronoun followed by a verb, in which case you can reduce it, or a subject, in which case you can't? The book that I borrowed was excellent. What do you think? Pause the video here if you need to, and then continue when you're ready. No, because we have the subject I. The woman whom they hired has a lot of experience. What do you think? No. Again, we have the subject, they. And whom is an object pronoun. So anytime you have a relative clause with the relative pronoun whom, it cannot be reduced. The people who are waiting outside look tired. What do you think? Yes, we have the verb to be, who are waiting. So you could say, the people waiting outside look tired. He's the man who should start the class. What do you think? No, because here we have a modal verb, should, so we cannot reduce it. Okay. Now let's talk about types of relative clause and how to reduce them. First of all, we have defining. There's an adjective, and there are 4 different types. A prepositional phrase, a present participle phrase in active voice, a past participle phrase in passive voice, and a verb 1 or verb 2. So that's a present simple or past simple verb that refers to an active, ongoing situation. Now, some people say that you cannot reduce non-defining relative clauses, but that is not true. There are 2 types which you can reduce. So let's take a look. A verb 1 or a verb 2 that expresses a result, opinion, meaning, or evaluation. And a noun phrase, also called an appositive phrase. Now, these non-defining types are the ones that are really, really common in academic writing. So this is really important stuff. We're going to start by talking about defining relative clause reduction. An attributive adjective. So this is most adjectives. It simply means an adjective that comes before the noun, like the red car, the beautiful woman. So, the chair that is wooden is uncomfortable. Okay, so how do we reduce this? Well, we delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be, and we have to put the adjective wooden in the correct position. The wooden chair is uncomfortable. Now let's look at a post-positive adjective. So this is an adjective that comes after the noun. These are much less common, but I just wanted to show you, just in case. The person that is responsible needs to see the manager. So here, this is even easier. We delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be, and that's it. The person responsible needs to see the manager. Job done. And how do we know whether an adjective is attributive or postpositive? Well, I recommend the Longman Dictionary because that actually tells you. You can see here, not before noun. Okay, so this is a really great online dictionary. I'll pop the link in the description. A present participle. acting as an adjective. The child that is crying wants her toy. We delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be, and we have to put the adjective in the correct position. The crying child wants her toy. A past participle acting as an adjective. The table that is broken is very old. Delete the pronoun and the verb to be, and we have to move the adjective to the correct position. The broken table is very old. So those are all our adjectives. Now let's look at a prepositional phrase. The book that's on the table is mine. We delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be. The book on the table is mine. Job done. I bought this jacket at the boutique, which is next to the bank. Delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be. I bought this jacket at the boutique next to the bank. So much more concise. A present participle phrase. Active voice. The boy who's wearing a hat is called John. So we delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be. The boy wearing a hat is called John. The children who were playing the game lived next door. Again, we delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be, and that's it. The children playing the game lived next door. A past participle phrase. Passive voice. The car that was sold yesterday was a Mercedes. Delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be. The car sold yesterday was a Mercedes. The study that was published last week is going to change the field. Delete the pronoun and the verb to be. The study published last week is going to change the field. Much more concise. We often get this in academic writing because passive voice is very common in informal writing. News reports, academic articles. Now let's talk about a verb 1 or verb 2, so that's present simple or past simple verb, that refers to an active ongoing situation. Now this is the area where mistakes tend to happen. The couple who live next door are French. There's actually two things we need to do to reduce this type of clause. The couple living next door are French. So we've deleted the relative pronoun, but we've also changed the form of the verb from live to living. So delete the pronoun and change the verb to the present participle. Let's see another one. The man who worked in the shop was very tall. So here we've got a past simple verb, worked. The man working in the shop was very tall. We delete the pronoun and we change the verb to the present participle. So it's the present participle, even though we are talking about the past, it's clear because of the rest of the sentence, was very tall. Now, as I mentioned before, this type of relative clause is where people tend to make mistakes. And this is where you see a lot of misinformation on the internet. So let's take a look at these common mistakes so you can avoid them. The girl who studies every day is smart. We don't usually do this with repeated actions, and we know this is a repeated action because we have every day. The girl studying every day is smart. Grammatically it works, but it sounds awkward and unnatural. I would never say this. Best avoided. She is the teacher who knows all the students' names. So, not usually possible with stative verbs. So remember, this refers to an active, ongoing situation. So, most of the time when we're talking about a state, it won't work. She's the teacher knowing all the students' names. Grammatically it's okay, but again it sounds awkward and unnatural, and best avoided. The boy who won the competition was very young. So this doesn't work because it is a completed single action. So, this is just plain wrong. The boy winning the competition was very young. No, don't do it. Okay, it has to be an active, ongoing situation. He is the man who doesn't work here. Well, as mentioned earlier, it's not usually possible with the auxiliary verb do. So, he's the man not working here. It makes it seem like this is a temporary situation, whereas he's the man who doesn't work here is a fact. We're not talking about something temporary. So, this is not correct. Last one. The students who have been working hard can leave early. So again, if you remember, I said this is not usually possible with the auxiliary have. The students having been working hard can leave early. So this sounds unnatural and it doesn't really work. People get very confused with this and they mix it up with perfect participle clauses, but those are actually something different. We use them for a different purpose. At some point I'll do a video comparing the two because it is a very confusing topic. Now let's take a look at non-defining relative clause reduction. A verb 1 or verb 2 that expresses a result, opinion, meaning or evaluation. So this is really, really common in academic writing. There are a few important things to note here. It must qualify the entire sentence, so not just a noun, but the whole sentence. Always use which. They always appear at the end of the sentence. They are a key feature of academic writing, and some typical examples of verbs that can be used in this way: indicate, show, mean, suggest, demonstrate and prove. So let's see some examples. The product sold out quickly, which indicates that it is very popular. So we need to do two things here. The product sold out quickly, indicating that it is very popular. We delete the relative pronoun and we change the verb to the present participle. One more example. Everyone finished early, which meant that we were able to leave on time. Everyone finished early, meaning that we were able to leave on time. We delete the relative pronoun, which, and we change the verb to the present participle. Okay, now we're coming to the last type. A noun phrase, or a positive phrase. And these will start with which is or which are. Gala, which is a type of apple, is very sweet. Now, this is super easy. We just delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be. Gala, a type of apple, is very sweet. One more example. Paracetamol, which is an effective painkiller, is available without prescription. Delete the pronoun and the verb to be, and that's it. Paracetamol, an effective painkiller, is available without prescription. Let's review, starting with defining. So an adjective. Delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be and put the adjective in the correct position, usually before the noun. A prepositional phrase, present participle phrase or past participle phrase. Delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be. A verb 1 or verb 2 that refers to an active, ongoing situation. Delete the relative pronoun and change the verb to the present participle. Non-defining. A verb 1 or verb 2 that expresses a result, opinion, meaning or evaluation. Delete the relative pronoun and change the verb to the present participle. A noun phrase. Delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be. Now let's have a quiz to test your new skills. The assignments that were submitted on time have been marked. How do we reduce this? Pause the video if you need to, and then resume when you're ready. The assignments submitted on time have been marked. So here we have a past participle phrase. We delete the pronoun and the verb to be. Next one. The woman who was reading the newspaper looked like a celebrity. Again, pause if you need to and think about your answer. The woman reading the newspaper looked like a celebrity. Here we have a present participle phrase. We delete the pronoun and the verb to be. MRI, which is short for magnetic resonance imaging, is a medical imaging technique. Pause the video, think about your answer. MRI, short for magnetic resonance imaging, is a medical imaging technique. Here we have a noun phrase, and we delete the relative pronoun and the verb to be. People who work remotely enjoy more flexibility. Pause the video, think about your answer. People working remotely enjoy more flexibility. So here we've got a verb 1, in this case, present simple, that refers to an active, ongoing situation. So we just have to delete the relative pronoun and change the verb to the present participle form. She grew up in the house that's at the end of the street. Pause the video and think about your answer. She grew up in the house at the end of the street. So this is a prepositional phrase. We delete the pronoun and the verb to be. The police received an anonymous call, which resulted in the arrest of the criminal. The police received an anonymous call, resulting in the arrest of the criminal. Here we have, in this case, a past simple verb that expresses a result, opinion, meaning, or evaluation. So in this case, a result. We delete the pronoun and we change the verb to the present participle. The child who fell off his bike broke his leg. Pause the video and think about it. The child falling off his bike broke his leg. No, why not? It's not possible to do this for a completed single action. So if you've got a past simple verb, you can't reduce the clause if it's not an ongoing active situation. Well done if you got that. I love the photo that's on the shelf. I love the photo on the shelf. Here we have a prepositional phrase. We delete the pronoun and the verb to be. 2 more. The boy who is riding the bike is my cousin. Pause and think about your answer. The boy riding the bike is my cousin. So here we have a present participle phrase. We delete the pronoun and the verb to be. Last one. The new product is cheaper, which means it will probably be more popular. Pause the video and think about your answer. The new product is cheaper, meaning it will probably be more popular. So here we have a present simple verb that expresses result, opinion, meaning, or evaluation. So here, we're using the verb mean, but really this is an opinion, isn't it? We think it will be more popular. So we've deleted the pronoun and we've changed the verb to the present participle. And that's it. Well done, guys. For more practice, have a go at reducing the relative clauses in the comments. And for more advanced grammar, check out the playlist in the video description. If you learnt something with this video, then please give it a like, and why not subscribe for more? And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss anything. And I just want to say a massive thank you to my channel members for supporting the channel. See you in the next video.